It is a system that is made to be difficult. Coming to the United States, whether it be between ports of entry, through a port of entry, through a visa, through a relative, at no point is it easy. On the U.S. side, it's barbed wire, it's razor fence. On the Mexico side, the wall itself is full of art, right? Like people take it as a means of protesting. It's a lot of hope and a lot of faith that the situation will change. Iran-Contra affair was that the CIA was selling drugs to fund a war. So we profited from the sale of drugs within the U.S. If people are trying to cross undetected and they're trying to live here undetected, the probability that they commit crimes is a lot lower than someone who does have the protection of a passport.
Now, how so? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so...
Hey guys, welcome back to the Ride the Wave podcast. I am Javon, and you already know who is to the left of me, Jeff. And guys, we have an interesting guest today, and I can't wait to just, for you to hear his story. And just a little bit about his background. His name is Gabriel Gomez. He's 21 years old, rising senior at Loyola University in Maryland, executive VP of Loyola Student Government Association, current community intern at Wind of the Spirit, worked for International Rescue Committee in Baltimore, Maryland as a community organizing intern. And before we dive into his story and all the work that he's doing within the community, I want to let you guys know that this episode is sponsored by 100% Cairo. Their personalized care makes every visit feel like a step in the right direction. Jeff, how you doing, brother?
Doing good. I'm excited about today's guest.
Yes,
I really am. I feel like Gabe, to me, is if I could have a second chance and do it again, I'd be Gabe right now with the resume, right? Pretty amazing, but thanks, man. And it was really great. So I met Gabe, everybody, at Wind of the Spirit in Madison while I was working with Heather and Jose, really to get Jose's paperwork straight. And while I was there, immediately got a good vibe. I thought Gabe was a really good person, has a lot to offer. So Gabe, thank you so much for being on, buddy.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit just about yourself, your passions, your vision.
So I am a rising senior, as mentioned, but I've been in the organizing space and the advocacy space since my freshman year of high school. Originally started with Wind of the Spirit, which is, kind of going back to where it all started for me. But yeah, I'd say I'm most passionate about advocacy, about creating fair policy and, work around human rights, immigrant rights, and, creating justice and equitable spaces so that everyone can really get everything that they need. Growing up in Dover, we're a community that is oftentimes getting a bad rep just because of the people that live there. It's a predominantly Latino community. And so, we're in Morris County, one of the wealthiest counties in the country. And we're a small brown community surrounded by a bunch of white communities. So it's very difficult to navigate that as a kid. And so coming now into this space where I'm becoming an adult and seeing that this is the reality, it's been really eye-opening and further kind of impulsed me into wanting to do this work and really showing why this work is so necessary.
Wow, very nice. Do you have some examples of some of the challenges that take place which led you to this type of service?
Yeah, so, there was one time when I was in high school, maybe it was in middle school, but my high school's basketball team had gone to Jefferson. And this was in the news where students from Jefferson were chanting at our basketball team that they had ashy knees. And so, yes. It just highlights how, just because we're a community full of students of color and people of color, how we are looked down on by the communities that are around us. And so that's one really big one. And the other one that I'd say growing up is that, Dover, it's a community where our schools are very underfunded, unfortunately. So while I was in high school, we'd have classrooms where there would be students that didn't have desks. And, you'd have students standing in the back of the classrooms. And now every campus in our district has trailers that serve as offices and classrooms because there's not enough space for the students. And we've seen that then reflected in like recreation time. So students at the middle school and at the elementary school at East Dover, they don't have a recess anymore. That's outdoors because the trailers are on the blacktop where they would normally be inside.
Javon, something like that in Dover, Morris County, not having kids standing up in the back like that. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. I mean,
really, if somebody is not, they could be funded in other schools. It shouldn't matter. It should just be a part of the same county. That should not make a difference, where you come from. So,
do you think with the current administration, the Board of Education, who's ever there in Dover, do you think if they were even to get the funding, would it even matter for them to even spend it on the children or the school system?
I mean, the Board of Education has gone through a huge revamp over the past few years. There was this whole movement that I was grateful to be a part of called Your Voice, where we really revolutionized and changed the makeup of what the Board of Education was. Because previously, we had people that didn't have kids who were in the system, or people who, were there just because they had the extra free time, really, sitting on the Board of Ed. And we managed to change it up, have people that actually care, that are invested in the community, sit on the board. And so a lot of positive change came from it. What we see now is with all the new, luxury housing being built in town and all these apartment complexes showing up all over the state, truly, it brings in more students to the schools. And a lot of these construction companies and these buildings are getting tax breaks. So that money isn't then going into the schools. We had a referendum or something come up where the town could vote to expand some of the school buildings. And, with education, obviously there comes higher tax if you're going to do a construction like that. And the town overwhelmingly voted to oppose, the expansion of the schools, which is, a precursor to what we have going on now. So there have been attempts to really try and resolve this issue and ensure that the students in Dover are getting the education that they deserve. It's just a matter of the community being willing to actually take the steps necessary to do it. And then, the administration holding themselves accountable to actually making sure that everything is funded the way it should be.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you believe that is it a white versus Latino thing, or is it a poverty versus rich thing? Is it is it more classism, racism? Like, what's happening in Dover? Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's difficult to really pinpoint what it is. Because our demographic is very interesting, right? So we're primarily Latino, mainly made up of Colombians, Puerto Ricans, Ecuadorians, Hondurans, Mexicans, right? Like, we have a huge diaspora within the Latino community. But we're also very divided politically, where, we have some people who are on our council that, claim to be Democrats, but really align themselves with Republicans, and, people who are, show apathy when it comes to civic engagement. And so it's difficult to pinpoint what exactly the issue is. It's mainly when there's specific people involved on one side, that there's going to be specific people involved on the other side just because this one person's over here. And so I'd say it's like a petty politics kind of thing where, if I'm over here and, Joe Schmo's over here, then you have to pick a side. And that side's going to dictate really the rest of your politics within the community.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice. So you've mentioned fair policy, right? Like something that you're interested in. Of course, you're in political science, different things like that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the current immigration problem that has happened over the last 10 years, but let's narrow it down to the last one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Let's take it current events that's actually happened. What is your views on what's happening with the current immigration policies that's going on right now? And has that affected any place in New Jersey, Dover, like close to home to the organizations that you're a part of?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've had this conversation off camera, but you know, I've been to the border twice now, down in Nogales, Arizona, crossed into Mexico, and seen the reality on both sides of the wall.
Can you expand on the reality there?
Yeah,
the border.
Yeah. So the border wall. I'm 5'10", right? So you need to stack pretty much 3 of me to get to the top of the wall.
Okay.
In Nogales. So it's pretty tall. And, you know, on the U.S. side, it's barbed wire, it's razor fence. And, you know, there's where we were specifically in Nogales, like that wall separates Nogales, Mexico and Nogales, Arizona, right? So it's a for real border community where you have members of families on both sides of the wall being separated by the physical barrier.
Yeah, it's okay.
And so, you know, on the Mexico side, the wall itself is full of art, right? Like people take it as a means of protesting the U.S. immigration policies. And so, you know, it's a lot of hope and a lot of faith that the situation will change. Meanwhile, on the U.S. side, it's very militarized and, you know, like meant to scare you kind of thing. And, you know, it's the U.S.'s policy of, you know, deterrence. And we've seen that it hasn't worked since its inception, and it's still the policy that we use today.
What's different from anything that's being or maybe presented on the news than on the ground, if anything at all? Have you seen anything where you were like, that is not what's being projected out there into the news? Has there been anything like that in the field by the border that has come up like that?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of talk that, you know, under Biden, there were open borders, and that's just, it's not the case. Or that, you know, Democrats want that, you know, anyone can come into the country. Like President Obama, he was called the deporter-in-chief for a reason.
When I was in entree leadership, I was talking to a guy who was standing in front of me. It was like getting a cup of coffee or something. And he was explaining, he said, somewhere in Texas, wherever it was, he said that it wasn't as bad as it was being pumped up. And I started to talk to him a little bit about that. So,
you know, it's difficult because the border, it's so big and there's so many different places to cross and so many different checkpoints that the reality in one place is going to be so different from the reality in another. And, you know, a lot of people forget that the U.S. border isn't only with Mexico, right? Like the U.S. border could be in Colorado because, like CBP, Border Patrol, they can function within 100 miles of any port of entry. And so every airport in this country is a port of entry. So even if you're in Colorado or you're in, you know, Ohio or wherever it may be, you are really close to borderlands. Like we are a border state just because we border the Atlantic Ocean. But also, right, we have Newark Airport. And Newark Airport, we're within 100 miles of it. So, you know, it wouldn't be, you know, weird if we saw Border Patrol over here or, you know, ICE, which, you know, we do see. And we've seen time and time again in Dover. You know, there was about a span of a week where they were knocking on doors. They were waiting by the train station because that's usually where, you know, you'll see day laborers, or by the Home Depot where you see day laborers, and just rounding people up. You know,
And are these people that they're rounding up, are they convicted felons? Do they have violent crimes? Or is it mostly just people that don't have the documentation and came in here illegally?
That is not something that I have the information on.
Okay.
So I couldn't give you an answer that I'd be confident in giving you.
Yeah, appreciate that.
But what I can say is, you know, a lot of the people that they do end up picking up, they're people that may have come between ports of entry or, you know, don't have any kind of documentation. But you know, living in the U.S. without documentation isn't a crime, right? Crossing between port of entries is considered a crime. But once you're here, there's really no way of proving that, you know, you did it that way, right? Because there's people that came in and overstayed their visas, but they came in through a port of entry. They may have overstayed their visa and no longer have, you know, the proper authorization to stay here. But just because they live here, it doesn't mean that they're criminals or that it is a crime. So, you know, that's like another thing that you see like on the news that, you know, isn't really the case, right? Like that, oh, the only people that want to come in are, you know, here because they need something from us or, you know, that they're criminals, stuff like that. It's not necessarily the case.
So
Javon, I got a question for you, Jen. Like as Americans or any like, because me, like, this is my personal opinion. I really do feel it is important to have border security. You know, we should vet and have an understanding of who comes in, because there really is true evil out in the world that will come in and wants to take us out and stuff like that. And I think that, well, I mean, you shouldn't be overstaying a visa, you know, if you're supposed to be here for a certain amount of time. And I feel like if I went to another country, I would respect that and try to learn a little bit about, I'd want to learn about the politics in another country that I stay out and stuff like that. So there's a respecting, as somebody who's myself, who like grew up, my grandfather, real patriotic, being American. However, though, the way we go about doing certain things and implementing certain things and whatever it is, when it doesn't matter at the end of the day. You could sign any piece of paper for veterans or whatever. If it's not implemented properly, what is the point?
Yeah, which would be my point, is that I think it's like, and this is just my opinion, I think it's like a spit in the face to all of the people that did it legally, and then to see those who did it illegally come over here and then do that. And now what you cause is you got the Latino community like, no, man, my parents did this legally. And it's not even just the Latino. We talk about so many, because America, like, I think people miss that America is a melting pot. Like, nobody has a problem with immigrants coming over. Just do it the right way. Right? Because that's why we have so many communities within the community because of that. But now when you start saying, hey, like, bump that process, like, who cares about that process? I should just be allowed. And then now we're like, well, I'm human. No. Like, at some point, like, where do we draw the line to say, like, hey, we have this in place so that we can monitor, you know, if something happens versus if I don't have something, right? Go ahead, Jeff.
I just got to thought, I know what I would do. A lot of people wouldn't like it, though. Or a section, like, it would be not popular. I would say that the country, whoever's the president, should do a formal ceremonial apology to anyone that's on the list, that has been on the list prior, as we tighten up the process, to say that, yeah, this was a mistake and we've allowed people to come in unvetted, stuff like that. Anyone who's here who has not committed any kind of crime, violent or anything like that, has a way to segue into, but we're going to tighten up the borders this time and not do it again. We're getting a second chance with it, because here are the reasons why. Because it's protection. There's real evil out there. Also, economically, we need to make sure that we do keep track of things like that. We don't want to go broke. And as a business owner, you know, it's like little things like that, but a little bit of a reset or a slight clean. Like, here's what we did. It's definitely a mistake. Now let's work on a solution.
It's interesting. Like, the points that you guys bring up are like the hardline counterpoints that, you know, a lot of immigration advocates face. And, you know, I appreciate it, because it kind of leads into what I want to go into about the reality of the border, right? So at my time there, I spent some time at a shelter called the Kino Border Initiative. It's a binational organization located in Nogales, Arizona, and Nogales, Sonora, Mexico. And the people that stay in that shelter are all seeking asylum and refuge, right? So I spoke with this woman from Ecuador. Her name is Graciela, and she came to the border with her son. She is an Amazonian indigenous person who got her law degree and started working in the government. And she became outspoken of the government. And they came to her home and threatened to kill her. And because she worked for the government, they took all her documentation and her son's documentation.
Wow.
So what was the only thing that she could do? She couldn't stay there because her family was at risk. Yeah. So she traveled to Colombia, crossed through the Darien Gap, and walked all the way from Panama up into Nogales, Mexico, right? At the border, Trump closed the CBP One app, which was an app that allowed people to come into the United States and await their asylum hearings. Doing it that way, technically, is a right way to do it, because you're still presenting yourself at a port of entry seeking asylum, which is something that is protected not only by United States law, but international humanitarian law. And when that whole process gets shut down and, you know, people are being denied asylum, they're being denied access to a country that could provide them safe haven, you know, there is no real right way left for them to do it. And so they're not crossing just because they feel like it or because they want to, but out of necessity. There's another gentleman who I met. His name is Alex, right? He was born in Guatemala, but his parents brought him here when he was 2 years old. So he's never really been to Guatemala outside of his birth. He's lived in the U.S. his whole life. We got into some trouble with his friends, lost his DACA status, was deported to Mexico. He's almost 30 now.
I worry about Jose. Out there. He's only got an expired Mexico ID. Mm-hmm. Granted, the way he came in was through refugee status from Cuba. Mm-hmm. He was saved by a dolphin. It's on one of our episodes. It was a wild story. Yeah. And so him being out there, and also too around the green in Morristown, there tends to be a little over, making sure people are out of there, like over enforcement. Mm-hmm. So I worry about his status, but we're working through it. And we would always, he's a waiver rider, so represent him. But yeah, I mean, those are the realities of it.
Exactly. And so when you tell people to do it the right way, but the avenues to do it the right way are closed. And, then it's like, what are people going to do? They're going to find a way. Not because they want to. Right. Everyone that's coming to the border wants to, or a vast majority of the people that are coming to the border want to do it the right way. Yeah. It's just they can't, right? Like if you're coming here on a family visa, they're just now processing applications from 2005. Mm-hmm. You got to wait 20 years, right? Meanwhile, there's people that can pay the $5 million, get the gold card, and get their citizenship immediately. And so, that's where there's a lot of inequality, and there's, a lack of empathy for the people that really do need it, but can't get access. I also agree, though, there does need to be security, and there does need to be a process for people to be vetted and to come into the country. Yeah. But again, it has to be a process where the people are treated fairly and with dignity. And that's what right now we're lacking. We're lacking dignified treatment of people that are migrating. Migration is natural. It's going to happen, right? Like we're at the most basic level, human beings are animals. Animals migrate. Animals change their location. And, it's in our biology to do so. And so, when you see it, it's just it's a difficult situation for everyone because everyone thinks that they have a solution, but the only real solution is to create more pathways for people to be able to do it the right way, and that's not something that is something that's going to happen.
I would say this too as well though. It's you see how much pressure that is for America, right? It's that everybody wants to come here, which is great. Shout out to our country, I love it, right? But at the same time, it's that if you have an influx of people, something is going to happen. Now, what starts to happen is when that now starts to hit home to the average American person, and they're like, what the heck is going on, right? And somebody is undocumented. And I'm just looking at this from a standpoint that I have this protector's mindset, like with my family. If somebody's just coming in my house, right? I mean, the border is the locked door, right? The proper way would be to knock, right? But if I keep my doors unlocked and then people keep coming in, and I'm like, bro, like I have 2 daughters, I have a wife. And if something keeps happening, like my mailbox gets broke, like somebody stepping on my plants, at some point I'm like, enough is enough. Like I'm going to have to restructure this whole thing to get it back to the normalcy of how it was. Right. So I think like at this point, I think Americans got fed up with a couple of things. Like there were things where there's immigrants coming over through the app and different things like that, entry points and so much. And then we can't forget about the cartels, right? We can't forget about drugs. We can't forget about terror. Like we can't throw that stuff out the window for the sake of helping other people from other country when inside our own country, we have so many problems. Right. So it's like from me coming, like we're talking about the Black community, right? They're like, well, why do they get all this recognition and all this help? But the Black community is still what we're dealing with. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. At Ride the Wave, the path is to the person. And I think that, like Gabe here was saying, the vetting process That's what's most important. It shouldn't matter where you come from, as long as you have the ability to contribute and you're a good person and you want to. And I think that there should be laws in place for if you're not, you go the other way. I mean, that's just, I think we could all agree on that. So there's order and things like that. But I hear what your point is too, Javon. And yeah, I see both sides a little bit to it, but I look at the individual, like it shouldn't make a difference. That's the whole point of the United States. That's why this country was created. It was so you could have the ability to come here and to be able to thrive. And border security, so you're making sure that the people are not coming in. And there is control of numbers so we don't blow ourselves out financially is really important. And I see where you're coming from too, Gabe. You know,
it's like, I think, you know, in terms of like crime and finance, it's interesting because when at the border, something that a lot of the agents and a lot of like, we spoke to Sue and Jim Chilton, who are like two ranchers on the border. They own land that spans 5 miles of the U.S. border wall.
And they're right there.
Yeah. You know, one thing that they say is, you know, oh, the people that are crossing, they're coming in and they're destroying stuff and they're leaving garbage. And in my mind, it's like logically, that doesn't make sense because these people are trying to cross and not be detected.
it's very dangerous to cross, and a lot of people lose their lives in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. But the point I'm trying to make is if people are trying to cross undetected and they're trying to live here undetected, the probability that they commit crimes is a lot lower than someone who does have the protection of a passport, right? Like,
now, how so? Can you explain that?
Yeah. So if I'm, I have more to lose as an undocumented person. Like, if I was undocumented, I've had more to lose than someone with citizenship if I committed a crime.
Oh yeah, okay. I thought for a second you were doing it the other way around, but I get you now. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd have more to lose as an undocumented person than someone who carries a passport.
Absolutely.
If I committed a crime. And so that's like, you know, with all due respect, it's a scare tactic that, you know, a lot of people use to talk about deterrence, right? Like, we don't want these people to come in because they're going to come in and commit crime. They're going to come in and they're going to, you know, kill your family. Like, that the probability of that
there was a spike in fentanyl though. I mean, those are all real things that have been happening.
But again, so fentanyl that crosses through the border isn't crossing on foot, right? Like, that's coming in through a port of entry, right? Like, a lot of the drugs that come into this country are coming in through ports of entry. It's not coming in by someone carrying, you know, a kilo on the back.
I thought it was underground tunnels, various things like that.
There are underground tunnels.
Very strategic with it. Multiple ways that they bring it over.
But again, it's the percentage of it that's coming through land, like by me carrying it or me digging a tunnel.
People are driving that.
Exactly. It is minuscule compared to the people that own their private runways, or, you know, they own a ranch in the middle of nowhere, or, you know, that they're paying off a border patrol agent, right? Like, that is way more likely than, you know, me carrying it in my backpack through, you know, between ports of entry. So again, they're all tactics that are used. Like, does it happen? Absolutely. No one can deny that is happening. But to say that it is, you know, one of the biggest reasons is that people are crossing on foot with it in their bags, or, you know, they're carrying it across. It is a way to scare people away from accepting that, you know, immigration could be beneficial to this country, considering also that, you know, people that are undocumented do not get access to a lot of government resources, right? Like, they don't get access to Social Security, they don't get access to Medicare, they don't get access to Medicaid. So, you know, they're actively putting money in by their everyday purchases and the taxes that go with their everyday purchases than what they get back.
What are people escaping in Mexico? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh man, I want to make, which in my opinion, I think that's the real American dream. Is that I don't have to pay taxes on such and such. Stuff doesn't come out of my paycheck for stuff I don't even know about, right? I'm not thinking about 40 years for daggone retirement, right? Like, I'm not focused on that, because if I'm undocumented and then all I make, like I did 10 years in landscaping, right? So shout out to all my Latino brothers out there. I mean, getting it in better than Americans, right? And when I'll tell you, when you don't have to pay that other money and all that strictly goes to family and how they used to send it back home and literally like start buying their own trucks, doing their own stuff. I'm like, see, you don't have nobody in front of you. Like it's work, cash, build my community, build my family. And I think that's the American dream where people are like, man, like they get the cash quicker because they don't have all this stuff coming out or they're not looking towards the government for help, but they're getting the actual beauty of America where I work, I get paid this amount way more.
But I was in Morristown and I connected with a very unlikely person that I would not normally. So this would be somebody that probably would be hanging out at the border on the other side, or they're a Mexican person who would be somebody that would be cutting lawns and things like that, that I would not be looked down on or anything like that, but I would sort of walk past or just not have a relationship. So Heather and Jose, they were in the green. For whatever reason, the wave came over and it was in the evening. I was going home, but I was going to say goodbye to them. And as I went, and I started a conversation, long story short, with two people. Very, very low, like, the guy owned a company that does landscaping. Yeah. He slept in the snow last winter. So, to me, I cried. I hugged him. I connected to his heart. It was an unbelievable experience. When I hit that barrier and I went past it and talked about the foundation, Jose introduced me, I connected to his heart like in some way. So we have to really figure something out and how we can connect the path to the person. But I think that, like Gabe said, like, what is the way we create pathways for people then, given those certain circumstances, while also protecting the integrity of the economy, border security, and things like that?
Yeah, so right now there's two things that Wind of the Spirit is working on, which is promoting two pieces of legislation. One of them is the Immigrant Trust Act, which, right now we have the Immigrant Trust Directive.
Before you go into that, can you just, because that was going to be my next question. Go into how Wind of Spirit, like who they are, what impact they're making in the community.
So Wind of the Spirit, we're an immigrant resource center doing work in Morristown, Madison, Dover, and Plainfield. And our main goal is to aid and provide resources to immigrant community, whether documented or not. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, so not tied to any political party. We're nonpartisan, and our work is humanitarian. And so,
what services? You guys did I know the English taught. You teach English, right?
So we're partnered. We're partnered with an ESL institute.
Okay.
So we connect. We do outreach and connect people who are trying to learn English with the institute at a discounted rate. Nice. We provide educational workshops, informing people of what their rights are, how to react in case, ICE or immigration officials come up to them or to their home or at their job. We do workshops with domestic workers, so people who might be nannies, babysitters, who do cleaning, in homes or offices, stuff like that. Right now in Dover, we're working on a housing campaign to create more affordable housing, change the zoning laws, and create rent stabilization. Among many other things. So that's
rent stabilization is huge too.
For example, like in Dover, rent is out of control, right? Like there's people that are living in like a single bedroom.
Should be a crime.
Yeah, like there's people that are living in, like you have families that are living in a single bedroom with no access to a kitchen or driveway.
Yeah, it's gouging.
AC, like they live in really abhorrent conditions. Yeah. And the rent is insane. Like a room like that costs you like, $1,500, $1,800 a month.
That's crazy.
So
I just wanted to scale it back real quick to the other question. We went a different route, but that gap of filling in of how do we then make sure people are vetted? They come in, even if they're not, that we that they have a pathway to grow, but also hold people accountable for and protect our economy and border.
Yeah. So right now, what we've seen is a huge increase in the DHS budget, and so the amount of people that are going to be crossing the border now is very, very slim. Over the next few months, those numbers are going to drop too, because the weather's going to start getting colder and the terrain is going to get more difficult to cross, and it's going to be a lot more dangerous. But again, it's not going to be perfect, and it's not going to stop everyone from coming through. And so one thing that we can do in New Jersey is call on our representatives, our state representatives, to really push through the Immigrant Trust Act, the ITA, which is a law that essentially would stop first the collaboration between the state police and immigration officials, because that is outside their purview. That's not their job.
Is that because it's not in their authority?
Yeah, like immigration.
Are they just getting overboard with segueing these departments or these enforcement agencies, and they could get a little bit tyrannical if you don't hold them accountable? Could they be a beast that sort of takes its own route?
Yeah, like for example, in Morris County.
I see you, Satan. We're coming after you.
In Morris County, a few years ago, there was this proposition called 287G, which would have deputized Morris County police departments as immigration enforcers as well. But immigration is a federal issue. And so, Wind of the Spirit, along with other community groups, really pushed against it. And the Morris County commissioners ultimately voted against it, which, huge win, because again, that would have meant a lot more overtime pay. That would have meant a lot more responsibility for local police departments that is outside of their job description, right? Like, if immigration is a federal issue, then it should be on local police
I just want to speak to and I know some of my family, so I think it really is important to keep an open mind also too, and to never ever think that you know something as an opinion, because I think something tyrannical is holding on to an opinion so firmly that you let nothing else in. You got to be careful, because there are, even though on paper things could be presented a certain way, it doesn't mean that they're being implemented that way. So it's important to check into that too. So then you can get your pieces of puzzle, I think, to put your own. But when we're going blind from one side and we're not sitting down at the table, that's why we've created this space, really, is to be able to talk about essentially anything and everything. So your perspective is really valued. Thank you, Gabe.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Something else that, could be done is TPS, right? Temporary protected status.
Okay.
A lot of countries have it in the U.S. There's a lot of Hondurans who had TPS, a lot of Salvadorians who had TPS, a lot of Venezuelans who had TPS. And what TPS allows is people to come to the U.S. and provide to our society as well, and have protection. Now, it's not a legal pathway to citizenship or residency or anything like that, because it's temporary, but it does allow for money to come into us, and for these families to also be able to provide for themselves. ITIN, huge, individual tax ID numbers. Believe it or not, a lot of the people who are here undocumented, they want to still provide, and they still want to be productive members of society. So they actively seek out ways to pay taxes.
With Mexico, is the cartels people are fleeing from? What's the reason why people from Mexico are coming over here in such numbers?
Well, it's not just Mexico.
Mexico, but there's other.
But I mean, like right now, is there like a something happening that's making it to the point where the conditions in Mexico right now with the cartels are completely terrible? I'm just asking because I don't know. I mean,
more the government than it is the cartels.
Honestly, I'd say,
are they fleeing them, or what's the type of people that come in?
At the shelter that I was working at, there was actually not too many Mexicans. It was mainly people from other countries.
And what are they fleeing from, or why are they there? Why are they?
So there's people obviously from Mexico that, like, for example, there was a lot of people when I went last year from Veracruz. And, Veracruz does, they do have a problem with gangs and, violence. And so they flee north hoping to get political asylum in the U.S. Because another big distinction is there is no economic asylum, right? Economic asylum is not a thing. People come to the U.S. looking for economic opportunity, but to claim economic asylum is not something that ever happens and will never happen.
And I'm sorry. If you're a parent and you love your children and you're doing everything to protect them, you do the same thing.
Yeah.
And if I was born over there, I'd do it too. To protect my family and to get out of gangs, because we're so protected here. We don't understand what true evil is half the time. I mean, there are sections, but I'm talking about to a specific.
Yeah, like here in Morris County, we don't see
audience.
A lot of the issue that you would see in other places.
And where Javon grew up, he would see things that I've never seen.
Worse. They're still protected. You get what I'm saying? Where in other countries, like the nearest, I remember being literally in the islands and the nearest police station was 45 minutes away.
Wow.
So even somebody calling 911 and then, it's 10 minutes too late. Still, that's worse than an hour later or never coming at all. Wow. So I would think it still doesn't equal to what they're running from.
Definitely. And, I'd say, the violence that we see that, we're hyper sensationalized to is, again, a very small piece of a larger picture. Most of the time when people are fleeing, they're fleeing, I don't want to say an isolated incident, but they're fleeing something that doesn't happen often. And, they could be fleeing family, right? They could be fleeing, an ex-partner. They could be fleeing for whatever reason. But because of our so-called war on drugs, which in all honesty has been a failure, we see, again, this hyper-sensationalized picture of what anything south of our U.S. Mexico border looks like, and it's drugs, violence, and people that are here to harm us. It's not the reality. Okay. But because we are fed these images and because we are fed the worst of the worst through, the news, and that's, what we see and that's what gets engagement, that's what people believe is happening all the time.
Right.
Yeah. And so, it's not an accurate picture of where we are or what the situation actually is. So yeah, it's an unfortunate reality that's, the way a lot of the people who are against migration or against immigration come from. But we have to, it takes having these conversations to really begin to change the narrative and to really kind of emphasize the fact that this isn't truly what is happening. Because at no point, right, like a lot of the border cities in Mexico are controlled by, armed groups or are controlled by, figures that we may not be aware of. But at no point was I ever threatened. Okay. Was I made to feel unsafe? If anything, quite the opposite. It felt extremely safe while I was there. And, what I saw there was at the Mexican side of the port of entry, there are military vehicles with armed soldiers, waiting to receive people, waiting to take back the people that have been deported. And you see the same thing on the U.S. side, right? Like there are tanks, there are armed Marines, National Guard soldiers on the U.S., deployed on U.S. soil, ready to engage. Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Which is I would say, and this is just me, like it's always that small percentage that messes it up for everybody. Right. Indeed. And that's the truth for every little thing, whether you go into business and now that industry is now tainted or people view it a certain way because of the small percentage, whether you go over here, because from the people I have heard, everybody loves their country. Man, I love my country. I mean, the culture and everything, but it's that small percentage that makes it so hard to live
that ruin the party.
That ruin everything. And what America is saying, let that small percentage do something. We will wipe you off the face of the earth. Because what you're doing is to recognize evil for what it is, you can't play with it. Like, we can't even be comfortable with it. So I appreciate every soldier on both sides of the border that says that we will go against it because we love the people, right? So I think that form of protection, I think is needed as crime and evil ramps up, right? Because love is prevalent. You know, people are good, but the truth of the matter is people still die. Wars still happen. Drugs is happening. Like, all this stuff still is infiltrating what we want to have in a peaceful country. So I would say that, but pinpoint, like...
Do you have a comment on that before he starts going?
Yeah, I'd say it's important to note that while we may be, you know, and I love the fact that I was born here, right? Like, I'm very privileged being the son of 2 immigrants, being born here, carrying a U.S. passport. Like, I have a lot of protection. But this country is not, you know, guilt-free either.
It's true.
A lot of the issues with drugs in this country are rooted within our own government and our intervention in Central America and in South America and our intervention in the Middle East. You know, a lot of opium, in
the Middle East, and there was in Vietnam as well.
Let's not forget about coke.
Exactly. And so, you know, I don't know if you
pharmaceutical
guys,
companies making billions of dollars, war and opium. I don't know.
I'm not sure if you guys know of the Iran-Contra affair.
He was the president when I was born. That was Ronald Reagan. I was familiar with that because I looked it up after. I am familiar with that. Yeah, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the Iran-Contra affair was that the CIA was selling drugs to fund a war in Iran.
That I know.
So we profited from the sale of drugs within the U.S.
Oh, yeah, it happens.
And so, you know, we talk about, oh, these people are bringing drugs, these people are bringing drugs. The government did it too, right? And, you know, we, again, like, I'm not saying that, you know, everyone is perfect, but, you know, we have to recognize that the root of the problem isn't the people that are coming now, right? This is a consequence of an action taken by someone else.
I agree with that.
So,
I agree with that.
And so,
that's the truth.
You know, if we want to say that we want to protect ourselves and we want to, you know, stop the flow, we also have to hold ourselves accountable and say and recognize that we caused the problem that we are now trying to resolve.
Yeah, it is important to do
and,
that.
You know, I feel like that's a big piece that's missing. And so we can spew and we can say, like, you know, like, we need to protect the border. We need to, it all starts with us though.
Now, how would you do that? Like, how would you, I said the formal ceremony, but like, how would you then do that? So where we hold those officials accountable. You had said for people to email, and also the laws. So actually I'm answering my own question right now. I told you, hey, Javon, no, did I not tell you after the virtual that we learned a lot from Gabe?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this has been great, man. And you're, well, we still got time, but your perspective is really great, Gabe, and we appreciate you coming on. We're not wrapping up right now. We're keep going. We got another 10 minutes, but
that's
I really I'm liking this one a lot.
Something I would say, because pinpointing this, and I think it's the American people that's fed up with everything, right? Because I always say this: the American people is not the government. It's like two different sides of America. The political arena is focused on money and power and grabbing land and all that type of stuff. The American people literally just want to be American. We love everything about it. So like we hold that pride. And this is why, you know, shout out to the forefathers that came up with the Second Amendment. Because I think people get the Second Amendment wrong when it comes, you know, we have the right to bear arms. People think that is for hunting. They think that is for, you know, when it comes to some other stuff like protection from themselves, which is right. But the whole purpose of the Second Amendment was for, if the government tries to go against this Constitution or anything like that, we have every right to fight as the American people against every political party that tries to, you know, infringe and do different things. So I think, like, when it comes to your point, that it is their problem. Like, we started so much, right, from this governmental standpoint. And then we have other countries that was involved with that. And now this is the consequence and the fruit of those back deals.
I think that the one word that stuck out to me most is the same word we put into our project name, Project Dignity. And I think it comes from the inside out, and that's what we're trying to do. And I think that it's providing humane resources, but also guiding one-on-one, like through the Wavemaker mentorship program, where there is, because it's the individual, really. I think that if we provide tools with empowering people, how to be a go-giver, mental health strategies from a business perspective, knowing who you really truly are, that you are somebody that was created with love and light, and you have something to contribute. It's too much quantity and there's no quality. What we're trying to do is create a quality program, one-on-one, that could be going out, and the campus, because there has to be a modern university campus. And I'm always going to go business. You let that energy vampire, shout out John Gordon, Damon West, we're coming. Amy P. Kelly, love you. It's something that is important to teach those skills, because no matter what, somebody can cross over, they get out, their issues are going to carry over the United States. So when somebody comes over, having a university, having a place to go, to be able to utilize servant leadership, conscious leadership, things that I've learned through the years that Javon and I could bring to the table and really implement with something like that. That's a bit different and very, very open to a lot of, I don't know, just going after it.
What would you say, Gabe, like for the average person walking on the street, like how would you let's say you had 10 people that's like, man, we don't know nothing about immigration. We just see what we see on the news. From your standpoint and all the work that you have done, shout out to you. What principles would you give them as a starting point on how to deal with the average immigrant that you see? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. There's a lot. There's a lot of.
It's a loaded question. We got 5 minutes. We're gonna run over a bit.
Yeah. So 15. I'd say one big thing is I feel like I'm gonna get the title of the book wrong, but I think it's a book called White Borders, and it talks about the history of the U.S. Mexico border, from like a deep dive into its history up into the construction of the border wall. I think that would be a very good starting place so that people can understand how we got here, right? To contextualize the immigration crisis that we face.
Yeah, people miss that. It's a lot
Starting
of history.
point.
Yeah.
Civic engagement and civic education, right? Learning what policies exist currently to really understand why the system is the way it is, why we are so backed up. Before, immigration was a civil issue, right? So you didn't see too many people going to jail for it. You saw more people paying a fine and being deported.
Yeah.
Now, immigration is a criminal issue, which is why we see this backlog.
Yeah, and it should not be.
In the criminal justice system.
Well, no, excuse me, like homelessness I meant. Sorry, I was thinking homelessness. I see a little bit as viewed as
a criminal issue. Yeah.
Not border, sorry.
Yeah, so, and that's a good point. So I'd say those two are good ones. And a third one is hear the stories of the people within your community that are immigrants, or, hear why they came. 9 times out of 10, the story will be the same. They came here seeking a better life and to contribute in a way where they can be functional members of society.
Now, Javon, if your daughters, you were on the other side, what would you do? You have to think like to protect your family.
What would I do?
Yeah, what would you do? If you were on that side?
You really want to know?
Go ahead.
I would join special forces. That's just me. Like, I wouldn't play with that crap.
No, I'm saying if you were on the other side in Mexico and like you had to come over and you're protecting your family.
From the point of,
I'm saying from somebody that's crossing from Mexico, from another country, you're there, right? You're there, your family's there, and you're fleeing. You're born there.
Yeah,
born there.
I would.
What would you do if you had no choice? You right now with your current family, and you were there, and there was a lot of turmoil. There was a lot of issues.
About 20, 30 years down the road, I'm in there.
Yeah, just put yourself in somebody else's shoes. What would you do? Would you cross over?
I'm fighting. That's just somebody. And shout out to the people we do not know who said it's enough. I love my country enough to fight.
Yeah, my grandfather too, very patriotic man. God bless all the soldiers. Really appreciate.
Yeah, shout out to him. Like, because for those people that's like, no, I'm not leaving my country for the sake of these people, and they died for that, I commend them 100%.
That's hardcore. Yeah, no, yeah, that's Javon. No,
Yeah, no, and I'd say
you need people like that.
yeah,
definitely.
No, hey, look,
I think fighting it is, it's definitely
not fighting it.
Well,
but fighting you're not coming to my door doing this crap.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what I mean. I think it's very difficult to kind of visualize what it is, because we live here in a very protected space, in a space where we are very privileged where we're at. A lot of the people that are leaving and are coming here, they don't have the same privileges that we have. They don't have the same resources that we have, right? Like, I was reading this stat the other day: to live comfortably, and like, for example, like the country where I'm from, Colombia, like in U.S. dollars, you need $500 a month to live comfortably, right? So imagine the poverty that people are facing, right? They don't have the resources to do what you're saying. So it's something that I can appreciate, but also, stepping back into the reality of the situation, no one really has the resources to do that unless they're wealthy in another country. And so to kind of fight against it, it's difficult to really put it into that perspective.
Yeah,
I appreciate.
I do want to keep this one going a bit. I do want to keep it going, but no, go. Yeah,
I'm saying like history speaking though, like we've been at war for humans for so long. Right? This isn't a new thing. Black and white isn't a new thing. Latino versus white isn't a new thing. Like, look at just the history of war and land conquering, right? This is going all the way back from Egypt, Mesopotamia. Like, men conquer other men in land. And that's why I say I commend the brothers that said no. Like, I'm going to die for my country. I'm going to die for my land. And whatever happens after that, it is. But you will not take this. And it's because they grew up in it that they don't even know another way. They're like, I don't even know what's over there, but I love my country this much that I'm willing to die for it, that I don't need that much because I don't even know what that much is. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when I look at my grandparents from the South, they didn't have none of this, right? Now we're talking Jim Crow South, right? Wow. Where all they had was the farm, eating off the farm, and the neighbors and whatever that white man that they paid to the rent would allow them to have. That was the extent of their life. You get what I'm saying? Which was very much like other countries.
And it's only your grandfather. So it's generational.
My grandma.
So it's not long ago.
Yeah. We're talking about 50 years ago.
It's not long.
Not long. And he's still living. Shout out to him. He hit 81 this year.
Oh, God bless. And 81, can he come on the show?
To talk about it?
Yeah.
If he can.
Wow.
But yeah, so that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Like, somebody got to say, enough is enough, man. So that's always my point.
I just wanted to one final, because I thought about something that you had said, just to wrap it up, like when we were talking, that if somebody is represented by somebody else, the system's working that way. So unless you know somebody that could help you out, push you up through the system, you're really out of luck. So all the lists, all that, I think it was like, whether it was, I could be mistaken right now, and if I am, it was a while ago, it could have changed. Like, I looked at whether it was homeless solution or the list, and it was nobody could get into it. It was red. So, everybody thinks, oh, well, they could just go here for transportation, or they could go there and they could go there. But like you said, when you go turn down and you have multiple applications that are complicated, you have to show up somewhere where you're tired, hungry, without mental health medications. What is that? To me, I look at that as suppression. Whether we're doing it purposely or not, whether it's out of our realm or whether it's us, it doesn't matter. We just need to come to the table, which is what we're doing right now. So, Gabe, I just want to really say that we appreciate you. But what are your thoughts on that before we segue out?
Yeah, I think a lot of the processes, and there's the only code of law more complicated than immigration law is tax law.
Come on.
So, immigration is. The laws that govern our immigration process are some of the most complicated and some of the most difficult to understand in our entire legal code. And so it is a system that is made to be difficult, plain and simple. Coming to the United States.
It's a house of mirrors.
Yeah, like coming to the United States, whether it be between ports of entry, through a port of entry, through a visa, through a relative, at no point is it easy. And so I think that, it is a system that, only the strongest can survive, or only the strongest can get through.
Who you know.
Exactly. Like if you know someone, or, if you have someone that can receive you, or if you have something already lined up, right? Like it has to be the perfect scenario.
I'm so glad too. I'm so glad Vanessa's here. Vanessa is somebody in the waiting room. We love you, Vanessa. She's a supporter of Ride the Wave, and she has a lot of experience. You guys should definitely talk together. I think that there are things that are similar to some conversations that I had with her. She has direct experience with City Relief, like I mentioned, among other things. Very deep into advocacy, and amazing person. But like, you guys definitely connect after this, because Gabe, man, like I think that you're super smart. You have the full support of Ride the Wave Foundation. If you want to come back, give us some updates, what's going on out there. Use this as your hub. We really appreciate your perspective. And it's been I've really enjoyed this conversation with you. And I've learned a lot too. So age don't matter.
Yeah.
It does not matter. What do you think?
I mean, for me, I'm like, man, shout out to you, Gabe. Because
yeah,
there's not
you're
too
a good
many people
dude. I like it.
that is 10 toes down in the field.
Gabe for president. I'll vote for him.
I know. But like, just shout out to you for coming on and really talking about the reality of the situation.
It's important.
You get what I'm saying?
And feel free to tell others that they could come also on to expand on that and give other perspectives. We really love that. And to everybody, we want to hear your comments, what you're thinking as well, but do not forget that the path is to the person. That's what we're here for. And thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate you, Gabe.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Ride the Wave. It's been a pleasure having you with us as we explore ways to make a positive impact together. Remember, every little wave creates a ripple of change. We appreciate any support you can provide as we plan to build an all-inclusive, modern campus and empower communities. For details on how you can contribute through various platforms, please visit us at ridethewave.org. Until next time, keep riding the wave of change with us. I'm Jeff Fisher, signing off, but the journey continues.